Hello everyone and welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Today I'm making another Christmas card and I'm using the very pretty Nature Sings set. I've used this a couple of times just for, I think the big deer I used and maybe the little pine trees, but I don't think I've used much else. So I thought today I would give it an outing and I would try and use this set. Now when I was designing my card, I always design on my old grid paper, and I had it all sorted out that I was going to use these two pieces and then this little Wishes for a Beautiful Christmas and then this pine branch with the little cones on to go down here. But as I was making the card, as usual, I changed my mind on a few things, so it's not going to look quite like this. But that was my basic idea. So the card is going to use two of my favourite greens, the Tranquil Tide and the Mint Macaron, and I think they look just gorgeous together. So these are the ones we're going to use. And to start off, you need a basic card cut at 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. I'm just going to fold it over, and that's our card base. You then need two pieces of Whisper White, and it's going to be one for the front and one for the inside, and they're both cut exactly the same at 5 1/4 by 4. And for both pieces of card, we're going to stamp them the same. I'll just get I need to stamp off, so I like to have a spare piece of paper to stamp off on. And I'm going to start with the Mint Macaron ink and the little trees from the set, which are these two. And I don't want them to be full strength. Mint Macaron isn't a strong colour anyway, but I want it to be quite pale. So I'm stamping off once, and then just on the card I'm going to put a set of trees, stamp off, and this set of trees is going to be just on the same line as the first set. But the third set of trees, I want it to be a little bit higher because I want the deer to sit in front of it and I don't want to have to cut out and mask. So make two the same. So on both pieces of card, you're going to do the same stamping. I'm only going to show you one for now. Then I've used Early Espresso, and I'm going to stamp the deer in Early Espresso. Now I'm having a little bit of trouble with my Early Espresso. I stamped it up and now it's a little bit too juicy, so I'm just checking. Oh, no, that came out nice. Must be soaking in a little bit. And then I'm going to put the deer just in this right-hand side bottom corner. And I'm going to place them nearer to the bottom of the card, and so that they only just fit on, just like that. Now, if the trees were darker, I would have masked, I would have cut out the stamp and put it over while I did the trees and then put the deer in. But it doesn't matter because the trees are very pale. If you wanted, you could colour the deer in with a watercolour pencil or with one of the blends, but I like it just as it is. Oh, while we've got this out, something else you need to do is to use the little pine cone from Winter Woods. And it's just a tiny little pine cone, and I've stamped it a few times in the Early Espresso on some crumb cake paper. So while you've got the Early Espresso out, it's a good idea to do that as well. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to need that anymore, so I can get rid of that piece, and I don't need that stamp set anymore. So the next thing you need is a piece of Tranquil Tide card, and that's cut at 4 by 1 3/4, and then another piece of Whisper White, which is just 1/4 inch smaller, so it's 3 3/4 by 1 1/2, and we're going to attach those two together. Now, as I said earlier, when I was first designing this card, it was going to be on here and I was going to double stamp and then take it off, but I actually liked the other idea I had better. but I still like the sort of the depth and the 3D element of having this second piece of card, even though we've not got anything on it. Now, my front piece I can attach to my card, as we're not doing any more stamping on it. So I'm just going to attach it to the front of the mint macaron. There we go. And then with the inside piece, I'd stamped just the same, and I'm going to put that on the inside right now. There we are. And I think that just makes a nice sort of little piece for inside when somebody opens the card and it's got something else inside. It just adds that little bit. Now this piece we're going to put towards the left-hand side, and I'm only going to leave a small border. And as long as it's even at the top and the left-hand side, it doesn't matter how much of a border you leave, but I just want mine to be just about there on the left-hand side. I'm going to attach this. Once you've got the pieces ready, this is a really quick card to come together. Now, the next thing we need, instead of this stamping here, is going to be the sprig punch. And I'm using this because it's so much quicker, and I can move it slightly. If I haven't got the leaves in the right place, it doesn't matter, I can just move them a little. So what I've done is I've punched out 3 of the sprigs in the mint macaron. And I'm going to use my glue dots, I think, to attach them. And then that way, if I need to, I can just move them easily. Whereas with some of the other adhesives, like the Tombow, it's difficult to move them. So I'm just putting a glue dot in the middle on the back so that you can't see it. And I'm just going to start as though it was coming from the top edge of the card. And then I'm going to do the same again. So I'm going to find a glue dot. And I'm going to, instead of having it going the same way, I'm turning the sprig over because I want it to join, to make it look like a longer sprig. And I don't want it to be at all too symmetrical. There we go. You can see how this just lifts up off the card a little bit. I like that effect. And then the last one. And 1 glue dot is plenty to hold these in place. I don't think, oh, it'll fall off, you know, it's not going to be sturdy enough. It really is. There we are. Okay. I've got a little bit of glue dot on my finger. There we are. Now it's gone. Okay, so the next thing you need are going to be your little pine cones. And I did try doing them on white, but it was a little bit, didn't look quite right. So that's why I chose the crumb cake. And then I took my old 1/2 inch punch, and I'm just going to punch out 3 little circles. Now I know these are a bit big for the leaves that are on there, and it's not quite the right sort of leaves, but I just thought it might add a little something. And you can add as many as you like, or you can totally miss them out if you prefer. I'm going to hide them a little bit under here so that it looks like they're growing in with these leaves. Just pop a glue dot on the back. Oops. There we are. And the last one. And you know I like odd numbers of things, so this is just perfect for me. Oh yeah. And I've also got some of the little metallic stone pearls. So I'm just going to pop some of those on as well. But I don't want them to be too sort of symmetrical with the pine cones or anything, so I'm just popping them sort of anywhere really. If you wanted, you could cut out a little bow and put at this top left so that it looked like a sprig or a garland. There we go. And have a look later, see if I want any more. Okay, now for the sentiment that's going to go across the front. What you will need is a little piece of scrap white card, and I'm going to make almost the same picture as I made here, but just with the trees and the sentiment. So first of all, I'm just going to get my mint macaron. I knew if I put that piece of paper away, I'd need it again. So stamping off, and then I'm just going to put one little set of trees like that, and then with whatever ink is left on here, and I don't think there'll be much, I'm just going to go over it again. Okay, so but don't need that one anymore. You will need the Tranquil Tide, and you could use any sentiment that you wanted, but I'm going to use this Wishes for a Beautiful Christmas because it's just the right size for my card. I just ink it up with the Tranquil Tide, and then I'm going to put the sentiment sort of towards the bottom of the trees, but leave a little bit of white at the top, but just sort of stamp that. It doesn't matter that I haven't stamped it straight, because we're going to cut it out with a circle punch, and we can just move it round however we want. It's one of the beauties of making your own card, isn't it? Now I've got the 1.5 inch punch, and then line it up so that your writing looks like it might be straight. Yours probably will be straight. It's only mine that's wonky. So does that look like it might be straight? I wanted to have a little bit of white at the top. Oh, that's it. There we go. And then with the 1 3/4 inch punch and the Tranquil Tide, I've cut another circle. And then I'm just going to attach this. And also with the scrap, I cut a 3/4 inch, yeah, 3/4 inch wide, and it was just the length of the scrap of card that I had. And all I want to do is I want to put this on here, but I want to have a little backing for it. So I'm going to flag the one end, and if you have one of the punches that flags ends, that's great. If not, the easiest way to make a flag is to put a little snip halfway along and then go corner to where the snip ended, corner to where the snip ended. If you want a really pointy flag, then you just snip down a little bit further. If you want a shallower one, then you just don't make your snip quite as long. So let's just see how much. I don't want too much sticking out. I'm going to cut it there. Might still be a little bit much. Okay, let's see. Just flag this piece as well. If you find that, you don't like how you've flagged it, just go along if you want it a bit shallower and take another little piece off, but not quite as pointed. Oh, I've got a little tiny piece in the middle of that. Don't want that. There we go. Let's see if that looks about right. Yeah, I think that's about the right length. So I'm going to just put a little bit of my adhesive in the middle and put my sentiment on it, but then I'm going to use the dimensionals just to raise it up a little bit because I don't want it to be too flat. Okay, let me find my dimensionals, and I'm just going to put 2 on here, just 2 on the back. Throw those ones away, and oh, I've still got that little, you see, just that little tiny piece in the middle that's bothering me. want to come off. There we go. And I'm just going to pop this across here. And I'm trying to make it so that the circle is on the edge of the Tranquil Tide here, and it's sort of in the middle. There we are. Okay. Now, if you didn't have the little gold pearls, you could use little red rhinestones. You could use one of your markers to colour over our pearls, because they do colour really well. And you could put, you know, red ones on. If you've got like the bronze marker, you could make them bronze. You could put some more of them sort of round here on these trees or wherever you wanted. But I hope you like that little card and that you'll give it a go. And if you have this set, I'm going to try and make a few more cards with this set this week. So watch out and have fun. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.